that she was different. Not strong enough, not fast enough, not perfect enough. On her home planet, where strength and skill determined honor, she had been rejected by every suitor, laughed at by her peers, and scolded by her family. Each refusal cut deeper than the last, leaving her feeling smaller and smaller until one day, she decided she could not wait any longer. Her species had an old rule. If a female was rejected by all the males of her world, she was free to seek a mate from another planet. Most laughed at the idea. The thought of a human, soft, weak, and unfamiliar, was unthinkable. But Lyra had nothing left to lose. Her heart was tired of waiting. With determination and a small pack of belongings, she boarded the interstellar shuttle that would take her to Earth. The journey was long, filled with stars and empty space. Lyra watched the galaxies drift past her window, thinking about what she would say, how she would act, and whether humans would even understand her. She practiced her words over and over. "Will you be my husband?" she whispered to herself. It was simple and honest. No one could refuse her if she spoke it with truth. At least she hoped so. When the shuttle landed on Earth, Lyra stepped out into a bustling city filled with noise, lights, and smells she had never encountered. People passed by quickly, eyes glued to their devices. She unfolded a small sign from her pack. Written in basic human letters, it said, "Rejected by all from my world. Seeking human husband. Will you be my husband?" She held it high, her chest puffed out with nervous courage. Moments passed. A few people glanced at her, but no one stopped. Some laughed quietly to themselves, assuming it was a joke. Some kept walking, avoiding eye contact. A few stared curiously. Lyra's heart sank a little, but she refused to turn back. She was determined to try at least once. By late afternoon, Lyra found herself sitting on a low wall near a small street-side workshop. Her legs were tired, her energy fading, and she felt the first pangs of worry. She had not expected humans to be so indifferent. In her world, at least people noticed when she entered a room. Here she felt invisible. Then a human approached. He was a man in simple clothes, with grease-stained hands and a calm, quiet presence. He carried a small toolbox and wore a look that suggested patience. His name, she would soon learn, was Ethan. "Are you okay?" he asked, tilting his head slightly. His voice was soft but steady, not mocking or rude like she had feared. Lyra looked up at him, studying his expression. She had prepared for anger, fear, or laughter. This was nothing she had expected. "I am looking," she said carefully, her alien accent softening the words. "Looking for a husband. Will you be my husband?" Ethan blinked. He wasn't sure if she was joking. He glanced at the sign she held, then back at her face. She looked serious. Her large eyes were full of hope, yet tinged with fear. I don't understand," he admitted honestly. "I am from another world," Lyra explained, her voice trembling slightly. "I was rejected by every male from my planet. I have no one. I only wish to find someone who will respect me and stay with me. You are human. Will you be my husband?" The simplicity of her words, the sincerity in her tone, struck something deep in Ethan. He had never imagined such a situation. Yet there was no threat here, no demand. Just someone who needed kindness. His heart softened. I can't promise that," he said slowly. "I don't know about being a husband, but you can come inside for now. It's raining and you look cold." Relief washed over Lyra. She nodded, grateful beyond words. For the first time in her life, someone hadn't mocked her or rejected her. She followed him into the small workshop. The warmth of the room, the smell of metal and oil, and the simple light of the lamps were comforting. Ethan offered her a towel to dry her damp hair and a cup of hot tea. She accepted it with careful hands, sipping slowly. The tea was different from anything on her planet, but it felt soothing. "I'm Ethan," he said, sitting across from her at a small workbench. "I don't really know how this works. Interspecies marriage, I guess. But I can help you for now." Lyra's eyes widened. "Help me?" she asked. "Yes." "You don't have to explain everything now," Ethan said. "Just stay here, stay safe. You can figure out what you want while you're here." Gratitude overwhelmed her. For so long, Lyra had been told she was unworthy. Here was a human who, without knowing anything about her culture, offered respect and safety. She nodded solemnly. I will stay," she said. "Thank you, Ethan." Days passed, and Lyra began learning small things about Earth. She tried helping in the workshop, though she often misunderstood how human tools worked. Yet despite mistakes, Ethan encouraged her. He laughed gently when she got confused and praised her when she succeeded. She was amazed. On her planet, no one ever encouraged her. Everyone only pointed out flaws. Lyra wanted to repay his kindness. She cooked simple meals for him, learned to sweep the floors, and even tried to mend his broken tools with her alien knowledge. Some repairs were accidental successes, others hilarious failures. But Ethan never ridiculed her. Slowly, Lyra felt a warmth she had never known. Perhaps this was what companionship meant. At night, she often sat by the window, gazing at the unfamiliar stars. Her thoughts drifted to home, to the people who had rejected her, to the suitors who had laughed. And yet she felt something new, a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she had found someone who could see her for who she was, not for her strength or skill. One evening, Ethan noticed her sitting quietly. "You're thinking a lot," he said softly. "I am thinking about what it means to belong somewhere," Lyra admitted. "In my world, I had no place. Here, maybe I do." Ethan smiled, a gentle expression that made Lyra's heart flutter strangely. "You do have a place," he said. "It's not about strength or skill. It's about being here, being yourself." Lyra's eyes glistened. No one had ever said that to her. Her entire life had been a series of failures, rejection, and isolation. But this human, this simple, quiet man, treated her as if her existence alone was valuable. That night she whispered to herself, "If he says no, I have nowhere else to go." Her voice trembled with fear but also determination. She had risked everything to come here. She would face the answer, whatever it was. Ethan, overhearing her from the doorway, paused. He realized the depth of her words, the weight of her courage. She wasn't asking for convenience or money or protection. She was asking for acceptance. She was asking for a place to belong. He stepped closer and without a word sat beside her on the windowsill. Lyra turned her head, surprised, and met his calm gaze. In that moment, a silent understanding passed between them. There was fear, yes, and uncertainty, but also the beginning of trust. Outside, the city lights flickered and the wind carried the distant sound of life. Inside, Lyra felt something she had never experienced before: hope. For the first time, she believed that maybe rejection was not the end. Maybe, just maybe, this human could help her find the place she had been searching for her entire life. And as she leaned back slightly, letting the warmth of the workshop and the quiet presence of Ethan surround her, she whispered once more, not to him this time, but to herself, "Maybe, this is where I belong." The night settled softly around them, and Lyra felt the tiniest spark of a new beginning. The next morning, Lyra woke to the gentle sound of Ethan moving around the workshop. She sat quietly, observing him as he worked, fascinated by how humans completed tasks that were so different from her world. Everything was slower, gentler, yet somehow effective. "You're up early," Ethan said, noticing her. He wiped his hands on a rag and offered a small smile. "Didn't get much sleep?" Lyra shook her head. "I was thinking. About Earth, about you, about everything. It is all different." Ethan chuckled softly. "Yes, it is. But different doesn't mean bad." For the first time in her life, Lyra felt at ease talking with someone. On her planet, conversations had always carried judgment, comparison, or expectation. Here, Ethan listened without criticism, and that made her feel lighter than she had in years. Over the following days, she tried to learn everything about human life. She helped clean, organize tools, and even attempted to cook simple meals. Most failed, but each attempt taught her something new. Ethan never scolded her. Instead, he encouraged her, often laughing at the harmless mistakes. Lyra found herself smiling genuinely for the first time in a long while. One afternoon, as she was struggling to fix a small device, she muttered in frustration, "Why is this so different? Why can't I do it right?" Ethan knelt beside her, guiding her hands gently. "It's okay. You're learning. You didn't grow up using these tools, and that's fine. Mistakes are how we grow." Lyra looked at him, absorbing every word. No one had ever said something like this to her. Her entire life had been about proving herself, yet here she was, accepted just for trying. The feeling was foreign and thrilling. Weeks passed, and the bond between them grew. Ethan began to notice small things about Lyra: how her ears twitched when she was excited, the way she tilted her head when confused, and how her eyes shone with curiosity. Lyra, on her part, noticed Ethan's kindness, patience, and quiet strength. Unlike the warriors of her home planet, he did not demand, push, or compare. He simply accepted her as she was, but peace rarely lasted. One day, a large, sleek spacecraft landed near the workshop. The doors opened and a figure in gleaming armor stepped out. Lyra froze instantly. She recognized him immediately. Kale, a warrior from her world, sent by her family to retrieve her. "Lyra," Kale called, his voice firm. "You are to return home immediately. Your behavior brings dishonor to our people." Lyra's heart pounded. She had expected this, yet she had hoped the humans would be safe from her world's interference. Ethan, standing beside her, calmly observed the situation. "I will not go," Lyra said, her voice trembling but steady. "I choose where I stay. I choose who respects me." Kale's eyes narrowed. "You are making a grave mistake. You belong to us, not to these weak humans." Ethan stepped forward slightly, not threatening but firm. "She's not yours to take. She stays here if she wants. I won't stop her, but I also won't let her be forced." Kale's gaze flicked to Ethan. The human did not cower, did not tremble. He simply stood with quiet determination. For the first time, Kale hesitated. He had never met someone who faced him without fear. Lyra, sensing the pause, stood taller, drawing strength from Ethan's presence. "This human respects me," she said boldly. "He sees me for who I am, not for my strength or weakness. I will stay." Kale's expression softened slightly, not with acceptance but with acknowledgement. He realized that Lyra had finally found someone who valued her, someone who truly understood her. Without another word, he returned to his ship and departed, leaving her standing beside Ethan. The tension slowly faded. Lyra's body relaxed and she turned to Ethan with wide, grateful eyes. You stood with me. You did not run. You did not laugh. Why?" Ethan smiled gently. "Because you deserve respect, Lyra. No one should be forced to live where they are not wanted or appreciated. You are stronger than you know, and now you have a choice. The choice to stay, to grow, and to belong." Tears pricked at Lyra's eyes. She had never been given a choice before. Every decision had been made for her, every opportunity denied. Now she could decide for herself, and for the first time her heart felt free. Days turned into weeks. Lyra continued to learn about Earth and human life, her confidence growing each day. She began helping more in the workshop, even improving some of Ethan's tools using her alien knowledge. Ethan watched in quiet amazement, realizing that despite the differences between their worlds, their skills complemented each other perfectly. One evening, as they worked side by side, Lyra paused and looked at him. "Ethan, I am happy here because of you. You make me feel important. I do not want to leave." Ethan stopped his work and looked at her, his expression softening. "Lyra, I'm happy you're here. You've brought something I didn't know I needed, joy, curiosity, and hope. I think I care for you more than I expected." Her eyes widened and a faint blush spread across her cheeks. "Care for me?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Ethan said, meeting her gaze steadily. "I don't know how all this works yet, but I want you here. Not because I have to, but because I want to." Lyra felt warmth spread through her chest. No one had ever said such words to her. In all her years of rejection, this was the first time someone wanted her for who she truly was. The next challenge came unexpectedly. A few humans in the city, having seen Lyra before, began spreading rumors online. Some called her strange. Others mocked the idea of a human and an alien living together. Lyra, though initially frightened, found courage in Ethan's calm presence. "They are only words," he said one evening, showing her the glowing screen. "They don't matter. What matters is what we choose." Lyra nodded. She realized he was right. On her planet, words had power only because people allowed them to define them. Here she could define herself. The weeks passed and the two grew closer. They laughed, shared meals, and even argued gently over small things: how to organize the workshop, how to cook, and which human customs to follow. Through it all, they learned from each other, bridging the gap between worlds with patience and kindness. Finally, one quiet evening, as the city lights twinkled outside the window, Lyra turned to Ethan with a serious expression. "Ethan, will you be my husband? I am ready. I trust you. I want to belong with you." Ethan took a deep breath, smiling softly. "Lyra, you don't have to ask anymore. I already asked in my heart, but since you want words, yes, I will be your husband if you will have me. Will you stay with me? Not because you must, but because you want to. Tears of joy filled Lyra's eyes. She nodded, her voice trembling with happiness. Yes, I will stay. With you. They sat together, holding hands for the first time in that way, feeling the warmth of trust and acceptance flow between them. Lyra had been rejected by everyone in her world, laughed at, and left alone. Yet here, on this small planet filled with humans she barely understood, she had found her place. She had found someone who valued her, respected her, and wanted her just as she was. For the first time in her life, she felt whole, and as they looked out at the stars, dreaming of what their future might hold, Lyra realized something profound. Sometimes being rejected is not the end. Sometimes it is the beginning of a journey to find a place where you truly belong. She leaned against Ethan, feeling safe and cherished. Her past rejections no longer mattered. She had found someone who saw her worth not for strength, skill, or appearance, but for the heart she had always carried within her, and that, she knew, was worth more than anything her world could offer. The night deepened around them, full of quiet peace and promise. Lyra had come to Earth seeking hope. She had found far more than that. She had found a home, a friend, and a love that would last, no matter what challenges the universe might bring. And in that quiet, simple moment, both human and alien understood the same truth. Belonging was not given. It was chosen, and they had chosen each other.